everyone, and welcome to another video. Today I am talking about my unexpected favourite books. I saw this video on Jessethereader's channel and I really enjoyed the premise, and basically the idea is talking about books that unexpectedly became one of my favourite books. So going into it without expectations and turning out to really love them. And I've had a lot of experiences, especially in the past year, where I've read books and thought to myself, I love this book. I went into it not knowing really much about it and came out with a new favourite book. So I wanted to talk about those with you today, and I think we should just get straight in with the video. Shall we do that? Now, in no particular order, the first one is going to be Freefall by Joshua David Bellin. This is one which I've talked about a couple of times in the past couple of weeks, and this is a sci-fi story about a boy and a girl from two separate worlds. You gotta read it to find out what that means. Basically teaching each other about society, and it really interested me. And then just add in the crazy aliens in here and the whole spaceship landing on the wrong planet situation. It turns out for a really interesting story, and I really do especially love that you get to go in the future in this story and back. So you have flashback scenes and you have scenes set in the future, and they're really nicely spaced out, and I just thought it was really fun. I think this is a standalone sci-fi. I say this in every video because I don't know if it's going to be a series. I wish it was a series. I feel like this could be a really great duology or trilogy, but I do think it might be a standalone. So if you're looking for that new sci-fi read, this is definitely what I'd recommend. But yeah, this really unexpectedly, I mean, I had high expectations, I'm not gonna lie, and I knew what I was getting myself in for, but it just didn't disappoint. So I've got to add this in my video. Next is The Crown's Game by Evelyn Skye. Now, I absolutely love this book and this duology. I actually, funnily enough, bought the book because it was mentioned on a Jessethereader video. I think he did an interview with the author. So when I went into reading it, I knew the premise, but I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And I actually specifically remember the day when I started reading and how I felt, because I went to a coffee shop and I sat outside. I'd never been to the coffee shop before, and I remember just devouring like the first 150 pages of the book. And then by the end of the day, I finished it and just thought to myself that this was such a great and interesting premise of a unique fantasy. And fantasies, there are so many at the moment, and you can always kind of see similarities to other books, but this was just so unique, and it is definitely one of my most unexpected favourites. So I'm going to mention this in any favourites video because it's just that good, and if you haven't read it yet, you should. Mentioning an oldie, and that is The Whispers of the Fallen by J.D. Netto, and Premises is one I published, but of course I love every single book that I publish, and I actually read this before I published the book, and it was out way before I published it, and I read it right back in the days of the old booktube. And it's a fantasy story about the diary of Lucifer and what would happen if his secrets would become not secrets, and the kind of frenzy that would ensue with that. Angels, demons, magic, war. And this is very much kind of a Lord of the Rings, but for YA readers. And I remember reading it for the first time and just being like, holy guacamole, this story and the writing is just so interesting. So yeah, I definitely had to involve this one in. I do love, you know, my Off-Tones books so much, and they each have a special memory to me. So unexpected favourite, and if you want it to be your unexpected favourites, you can download free on all ebook sites right now. I will leave a link down below, but yes, free forever on all ebook sites. Next is The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson, or Johnson. I never know how to pronounce because apparently I can't read. But this is another fantasy story. I feel like there's a little bit of a theme going on, but the next two books aren't fantasy. But this is just, I remember when I read this one, honestly, I had no expectations. Me and Sasha were driving back from Scotland. I say we were driving back from Scotland. I was driving back from Scotland, and we needed a book to listen to on the journey because we had like a 12-hour drive, and this was one I had a TBR pile, and we were like, yeah, we both got it, so let's listen to it. It really was a random pick. There was no rhyme or reason to really why we picked it, except we both owned the book. And honestly, this series is so good, and it became one of my favourite series of all time, except for the last one, guys. I'm just gonna let you know, I flipping hate the last one with all my words. But yeah, The Queen of the Tearling, it literally became a favourite within like an hour of listening to the audiobook. I just remember, and I think it was really special too, and Sasha really bonded over listening to the story, so I definitely had to add it into this video. The Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. Such an interesting fantasy. It's so detailed in depth, and it's supposed to be a movie, and Emma Watson's supposed to play the main character, so hello. Legend by Marie Lu. First Marie Lu book I ever read. This was actually given to me by Kat from Little Book Owl, and she gave this to me for my birthday, and I took it on holiday 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and I read it on my last day, and I just didn't realise how much I'd like this trilogy. I actually ended up reading the whole trilogy in 2 days, but I didn't really expect much from it. It was like the last book on my TBR. I was like, oh, I have it on my Kindle, I'll just read it this holiday, like I'll just read it now kind of thing. Didn't really prepare myself to read it. And then I just didn't realise how much I love this. This is a dystopian trilogy, and I just love dystopia anyway as a genre, and this one blew my mind. Really, really blew my mind. Bearing in mind, I just read Divergent at that point, Hunger Games, so I was kind of in a bit of a dystopian slump. This was like nothing I've ever read, so you've got to check this out if you haven't read it before. I know a lot of you have, but I just love this series so much, and to be honest, I know I love it, but I really don't remember what happens, so maybe I'm gonna have to reread it. It's been a while. Shall I reread you? Yes! And last but by no means least, Sweep series by Kate Tiernan, the first 3 bind-up books, Book of Shadows, The Coven, Blood Witch. This is in the Sweep series. There's loads of books in this series. So the story behind this one, and it became an unexpected favourite because I never had a reason to read it. In fact, I never really knew it existed until I went to America, and everybody was saying to me at that point, because I was really heavily into witchcraft books, that I should read this series. And me and Kaz, when we went travelling, we went into a bookshop. I found this one and the second one and decided to buy them because they were super cheap. Didn't really have like any motivation to read it, to be honest. Went to the airport to leave and I had no other book with me, and I decided to read this one, and it literally is one of my favourites of all time. I think about it all the time, and I really want to reread it, but I'm really scared that I'm going to not like it as much. But I just know that this series is just one of my favourites. Witches, fast-paced, so many characters, modern day powers. I just absolutely love the magic system in this series. Like, there's a lot of series I love, and this one is definitely up there on a pedestal for me. And yeah, it was definitely an unexpected favourite. I remember just blasting through it on the plane, and even the people next to me made a comment about how fast I was reading because it was just that good. So if you like witches, then this is definitely a staple for you to read. Really, really such a staple. And if you've actually read this whilst you're watching, please let me know. I would actually love to know. So there you have it. They're all the books I'm going to be mentioning. I've left all of the links for the books down below if you want to go and check them out. I really enjoyed filming this video, so thanks Jesse for the video motivation and inspiration. Don't forget to go check out his channel. And apart from that, guys, I'll see you again very, very soon for another video. Don't forget to pre-order my book, Cloaked in Shadows, coming December 18th, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye!